Yeah. Okay. What's the story behind why you do what you do? And when is the last time you actually told someone that story? So, most women leaders have a story that is behind everything that they do. It is your big why. What got you into this into the first place? Why do you care about the work that you do? Why did you start the company that you're in? What got you into all of this? That's called your origin story. And this aha moment that brought it all together is not just a part of your personal history, but this is actually essential for leading your team. This is essential for marketing, for selling and attracting your ideal clients. Knowing your story and being able to relay it with
Mhm.
clarity and in a concise way could very well be the missing link, especially if you're watching this and you feel like, oh, I'm in a saturated industry. There's everyone's a coach, right? Or everyone's an accountant, everyone's a real estate agent, everyone's a lawyer, like everyone's a hair salon owner that or everyone's a restaurant owner. Whatever your thing is, everyone's a Reiki master or holistic practitioner, whatever your thing is, if you're telling yourself that, oh, I got to stand out, but who am I to stand out? I still haven't finished learning this, or I have to get better at that, or I never finished college, yada, yada. If you have imposter syndrome, this episode may be the one thing that helps tip the scales for you to feel comfortable being visible in a whole new way. And this is episode 17 of the Wake Up Women Leaders podcast.
Yay. I'm so glad to get to talk about this particular topic because even as executive women, so whether you are an entrepreneurial woman or an executive woman, sharing your origin story is just as important in that kind of leadership role as it is in a entrepreneurial leadership role. And you may feel really confident about where you are. Perhaps you're sitting here thinking, imposter syndrome's just not part of my dialogue, but you're also not telling the story of how you got to where you are. And that story is important to share for your team, your employees, for other women leaders around you. You might not think it's all that interesting, or maybe you don't like the path that took you to where you are right now. But what we're here to say today is it's part of your story, and that means it's worth sharing. So, Victoria, who are you? Why are you the woman to talk about this today?
Oh, I love this question. Well, I'm Sensei Victoria Whitfield, founder of strategicmeditation.com, where I help impact-driven entrepreneurs and leaders to get and stay grounded and clear in mind, body, and business. I've been doing that for 16 years, full time, after I had a realization about the power of doing meditation strategically in my own life for focus, productivity, and also increasing my own profitability. And so now I teach that to other leaders so that they can do the same. How about you, Nettie?
Well,
Well,
well, I'm Nettie Owens. I'm the founder of Sapari Group, a company that started out as a professional organizing company, and I've been on the TV show Hoarders as the organizer on site. Um, For over 2 decades now, I've helped people to not only envision a greater future for themselves, but help them set the goals and actualize those goals to achieve the success they desire. I've done this for people in their homes, and I've done this for executives at the top of their game. I work through executive coaching, group training programs, as well as an accountability process that I've developed over many, many years of working, researching, and refining that work that I do with people. So today, I would love to just dive into this topic. We've already both shared some stories that help you understand both of us a little bit better, and maybe you're already feeling somewhat more connected to who we are, having heard those tidbits about our past. And the reality is that your origin story, it's not just yours. It's not just private for you to hold on to. It's an important leadership tool, not a personal, not to be shared at work kind of a part of your life. Um, I'm curious, Victoria, for you, um, when was the first time that you shared your origin story? Did you share it from the beginning, or was there a point where you realized that sharing it would be beneficial?
Are you asking for the origin story of sharing my origin story? Wow.
I actually kind of think we probably had the same moment, but we're going to find out here today on the podcast. Listeners, this is a big reveal. All right, go for it.
Yeah. So I would have to say that when I first really saw, like, when I had my aha moment of like, oh, I have to tell my story every time, was actually earlier on in my career as a Reiki master. I started taking up public speaking, right? They say, oh, you should go out and speak and do talks about the things, do a lunch and learn, do a signature talk to market, to put yourself out there. Okay. And so I, through connections and networking, landed about, it was like 1 to 2 times per year speaking at AT&T World Headquarters here in Bedminster, New Jersey, about meditation, the 10-minute solution to workplace stress. And 4 times, I did it 4 times, and every single time people would come flying in. They would take a nap during my talk, and they would take all of the free potato chips, and then leave. No questions, no engagement. I would ask if anyone was interested, or like nothing. Um, and then on the fourth time, I remember thinking to myself, wow, this is kind of going nowhere. I mean, it's important to be out and speaking, but like this is kind of going nowhere. And then I came across a little birdie called Simon Sinek. And and his concept of start with why, and everything about him I fell in love with. Got to see him speak in person, give him a big hug. And that really was the bite that infected me with this idea of the power of story. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, is what he says over and over and over again whenever he speaks about start with why. And so I decided among in myself, the net, like, I have another gig at AT&T, speaking gig. And so I'm going to do this one differently. I'm going to implement this. And so, okay, post up in there. We got the PowerPoint ready. There's a podium, same room. People coming in with like a cell phone in each hand on mute, because, and then another cell phone like in their headset in their ear. 3 phones on mute. They're all in like meetings to be present for the this like lunch and learn or whatever, because they heard, oh, it's a great place to nap in the middle of the workday. And people file into the room. I go up to the podium the same way as always. And then I say to the crowd, doing implementation time this time, I say, um, so I see some familiar faces, many new. And so I would like to begin my talk slightly differently this time. And let me come out from behind this podium. I stepped out and put, like, left my hand on the podium, but they could see my entire body now. There was nothing between myself and the group gathered. And I said, I want to tell you why I do this talk here, why I'm inspired. The reason why I'm speaking here at AT&T is because I never got to meet my maternal grandfather. because he dropped dead at work of a massive heart attack at 52 years old, leaving his three girls orphaned. He never got to walk them down the aisle. He never got to see their grandchildren, such as myself. Both my parents have had high blood pressure because of work related stress. And I myself have worked myself into the hospital trying to go as fast and as hard as possible, forgetting that how I feel matters. The reason why I'm delivering this talk, Meditation, the 10-minute solution to workplace stress, is so that, unlike my maternal grandfather, you can make it home to see your children at the end of the day. Let's begin. And then I stepped behind the podium, did I get the chills, the same presentation, same meditation for the very first time. So this is the fifth time I delivered this exact same presentation. No one left afterward. There was a line all the way to the back of the door and out into the hallway of people waiting to talk to me. People took so many of my business cards that they actually, some of them took the crystals that I had decorated the place with. That was not for that was not for giveaway. They're like, I need a piece of what happened here. And person after person came to tell me their story of, what you said was so meaningful. Like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm here for a reason. I also lost my family member. Or, oh, I have high blood pressure too. Or, oh my goodness, I've been thinking about how important mindfulness is, or what you do is so important. There was person after person after person. They wanted to take pictures with me. All the leadership was like, we need to take photos. This is the exact same situation. Only one difference. I stepped aside and said, let me tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that was the day that solidified for me that, oh yeah, start with why, because it's all the difference. People don't buy what you do. In my sense, it's what I do, being leading meditation and holistic stress management, all mindfulness coaching, yada yada, for high performance. Okay. People don't buy what they do with me, they buy why I do it. It was the conviction, the emotion, the pain, the surprise, the story, the overcoming. In my vulnerability, they saw themselves. In my problems, they saw their problems, but I'm the one speaking. So then suddenly that positions me as someone who not only knows their problems, but may have some of the solution to help get them more where they're going. So
Mm.
I'm glad you asked this question of, was the origin story of my origin story, but that it was all the difference until this day. There are people still on my list or who still is like, I remember that was a defining moment because they
Mhm.
got to hear why I do what I do, if that makes sense.
100%. You created connection that had been missing in every other iteration. And I think that one of the reasons that women leaders and others may feel some hesitancy about sharing their story is because they may feel it's too personal, right? I want to keep work over here. I want to keep personal stuff over here, and ne'er the twain shall meet. And so they don't talk about it. And I've seen this a lot. Years ago, I had started following a fabulous internet marketer named Molly Mahoney. And so you may be following her. If you're not, check her out. She's doing great work. Um, but she talked about posting on your personal page on Facebook about about what you're doing, about talking about business topics. And so we were starting to kind of commingle these things, right? And I remember sharing what she had talked about to a colleague, and that person was like, I am never talking about business on my personal page. And the reality is, allowing people in to your personal page as a business owner, as a leader, especially if you are choosing what you share there in that space, can be a way to make deeper connections. You are basically allowing people in to your origin story. You're allowing people in to connect with you on a different level they're not going to work with you if you are only ever this like perfect face over here that doesn't have that story of overcoming or facing adversity or achieving a goal. And so while you keep them separated, you are really losing the opportunity to connect with people as a human. And I don't, at this point, I don't regularly post on Facebook. It's just a personal choice. But what worked there does work in other places too. And so as you start to share your story, as you heard Victoria share, she's that was a very short summary of the origin story. She could have gone into gruesome details about the experience, which would not have actually been very helpful. She shared the parts that were going to help people understand why this was so important and help them connect. And as you heard, many people came up and said, "Oh, I have a similar story. Here's what that meant to me." And it opened up a dialogue. So we're not asking you to share your dirty secrets, your most intimate, hurtful moments. And we've talked about sharing from your scars and not your wounds, right? We want to share the parts that help people connect to who you are, to why you do this work, to how it could possibly impact them if they were also to step in and work with you or allow you to lead them if you're in an executive position. So if it feels too personal or vulnerable or not professional enough, we're here to say that's probably not true. But also, you want to consider what you share. It's this is not a like vomiting on them of all of the trauma you've experienced, but a specifically selected story that's going to help them. They're going to believe you more. They're going to believe in your credentials. You share a story about why, then you can say, and because I wanted so much to do this work, I then, applied the learning I had through my insert credentials, and it will all make a whole lot more sense.
Right. It's okay to be a human being. Uh, and so I think what drives a lot of women leaders to bury their backstory is this female perfection pressure of
Mm,
like, I have got to be the best or impenetrable or unassailable in this. I have to be so excellent, so professional, so perfect. um Maybe because we're trying to prove ourselves to some authority figure from our childhood that says you're not good enough on the inside, so suck it up. Hide your light, hide your story, and instead give the neutered version
mhm,
for everybody else. But if you don't tell people where you're coming from, they can't feel you. So there's when it all comes down to everything, forgive me for what I'm about to say, but this is actually sales. You've got to sell people into connecting to you. You've got to sell people into connecting to any idea or a project that you want people to buy into. You've got to sell people into it. And when in sales, there's the intellectual sale of here's all of the features, the benefits, the cost, all of the intellectual details. But then there's also the emotional sale, and that is 70% of the sale. People are more connected to what moves them emotionally. And you having reasons like a big why, or a story, or a passion, you having values, a mission or a vision, you having heart,
mhm,
courage, or being decisive humanizes you and helps create that stronger bond between you and your partner, your clients, your leads, your listeners. You want them to feel you. You don't want them to just know and like you. But when you tell your origin story, which is, by the way, the moment you went from I don't care about something, and I'm taking my glasses off for those who are listening in. You went from I don't care about this topic that I'm about to talk about to the moment where the glasses came on and you're like, I'm an absolute nerd about this. Oh, this is the key. This is it. This is it. Like, what was the moment
Mm,
where it clicked for you for me, it's like, what was the moment that it clicked that meditation is it? There are plenty of people who are in that before era of no glasses, no nerding out on something, no buy-in, in other words,
mhm,
right? To use a sales term. But then once you hear the story of my aha moment, it leaps off of me as the speaker. It's contagious and jumps onto you. Like Nettie, I'm curious, what was the moment where you went from, well, I don't know anything about coaching, or I'm not a coach, or coach is completely irrelevant to me, to bam, like the glasses came on, the nerding started, the absolute mind of like, oh no, I'm not just a coach, I'm an executive coach. Coaching is the key. Accountability. So like, did something happen? Like, what
mhm.
happened?
So I'm actually going to jump you to the origin story of why I shifted to coaching women specifically.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
for those who know and follow me for many years, I did not hang my shingle as a coach for executive women. I was very clear that my events, that the work that I did was for everyone. And I do believe that I have ideas and that the strategies that I share can work for everyone. But it was September in 2024. I was reading an article, as I often do, and read this. I've going back to where this article was. I'm not entirely sure, but the article was about women's medicine, about how in medicine the hormones of women are not taken into consideration. And until recently, you didn't have to indicate if the medication that you were testing, developing, etc., was ever even tested on women. This is a recent development. I was shocked. I mean, I'm talking post 2000, like post 2010. It was a recent development that in medicine, you did not have to indicate whether your trial of medicine was tried on women. And so after this point, you had to indicate whether women were included in the trial, but you didn't, but that was kind of it. It was just information that was shared. At this point, I was going through perimenopause myself and looking for solutions and things like that. And I literally had a before and after moment where I might have even talked to you, Victoria, where I was like, that's it. I've never in my life said I would do this, but I'm throwing off all shackles and I'm going all in for women because my realization in that moment about medicine was that how much of our lives, of the resources that we use, of the methodologies that we use are designed for male bodied people, for male brains, for brains that don't have the kinds of hormones and fluctuations in hormones and are not designed the way our female bodies are designed. And I realized that it wasn't enough to just learn from male leaders and trainers, but that I not only needed to serve women, I also needed to learn from women and look for resources that were designed by women. And that literally blew open my executive coaching, that I had been just very tentative about it. In fact, I had a belief before this that working with men as a woman was like the penultimate. And I realized after this that, I was really selling myself and my clients short by having that particular belief. And I'm sorry to say that that was something that I held closely for a long time, until this article, which was somewhat unrelated really opened my eyes to the reality of what was going on.
Mhm.
That is my origin story for shifting to working with women. Um, and I even had some male clients call me up and say, "Are you really not working with men anymore?" I said, "Well, if you want to work with me, that's fine. You have to understand that where I'm sourcing my resources now." And I even had some women, which was surprising to me. But I had some women who knew me as a very inclusive coach, which I still believe that I am, who felt like this shift meant that I was excluding an important voice in the room, and I had to make a decision and stand with the choice that I had made and understand their feeling, but also not back down from my why in that moment. It just actually gave me a moment to solidify my reasoning as opposed to being swayed by it. So I hope that as you're hearing this, you're thinking about, where have you sterilized your messaging? Where have you made it generic so that it's not too uncomfortable? It doesn't really elicit much of a response. It fits in with the narrative that people want to hear, or even the belief that you might hold right now that you're unwilling to shift towards, because of how it might change how people perceive you. So what's coming up for you? And if you're being moved by these stories, I'd love to hear in the comments. You can just share. If you're listening on the recording, you can also comment below, and we'll come back and see your comment. And we appreciate that. So as we are kind of rounding things out, um, it may not be hugely dramatic. I mean, I wouldn't say reading an article about medicine is a hugely dramatic shift, like Victoria's story, which is very emotional and elicits an emotional response to those who hear it. But it must be true. It must be true to you. Don't make something up just because you're looking for a story that you think people want to hear. Um,
Yeah.
Definitely lean into that, like, glasses off, glasses on moment where you really decided to nerd out about something and go all in. What is that for you? No, start there as your beginning point. And in the beginning, it doesn't have to be succinct, but over time, think about how you can really hone it into just the facts that are going to connect with the person that's listening.
Yeah. And I would say, as far as, not to get origin story envy on anybody, your aha moment is already mentally explosive. It could be simply the moment you learned how to fold a fitted sheet.
I have taught several people how to fold a fitted
Okay.
sheet.
Like, this does not have to be like people dying, like my story, or rage at the medical establishment and feminism. It could be the aha moment of like, and then you just, and it folded. Oh my gosh. For me, it was the Martha Stewart video. And I was talking to a guy who I love, hi Ron Shovlin, who owns a mattress factory, and he learned off the same Martha Stewart video. And that video changed both our lives, and now we're friends because of a folding a fitted sheet. So it doesn't, your aha moment, it doesn't matter what the story is, the aha moment for you. Take us back like 5 minutes before you ahaed. And then, in this moment, shout out to Stacy Martino. I'm thinking about how she says every aha moment is like another braingasm. You want to give people that mental explosion of, yes, I see it, thank you, and they will buy in. Now, again, it doesn't have to be so emotional, but share your aha moments. Explain how it happens. Walk people through the experience of you having the aha moment about the information, rather rather than just giving someone a folded fitted sheet and say, "Hey, check it out. This exists." Tell them about the moment you learned that this was possible and what it was like to do it for the first time. Then they'll want the fitted sheet and they're going to probably frame it or something. They're going to think it's amazing simply because they had that aha moment with you. And this is a and I hope you notice as you're listening to this podcast, you hear us telling each of our stories, regardless of the content. Notice how you feel as you of how you feel about us. Has your sense of knowing, liking, and trusting us increased or decreased after hearing these stories, right? Or hearing more about us? Don't you feel more connected? Don't you feel more of like, oh, yes, I think I can do this too. Like, this sounds fun, or I'm curious about it, right? You have more of that sense of engagement. We want you to have that ability to relay that to other people as well, to get other people engaged on what you are gifting people with through the work that you do. You know, you don't need to be afraid of making other people repulsed or shocked or angry, because you know, I always think of Dan Kennedy saying that if you haven't pissed someone off today, you are not marketing. Right? It's about you really being magnetic. Magnetism involves polarity, right? So, hello, energy talk for a moment. Polarity means positivity and negativity. In science, it's opposites attract. So, the stronger your polarity, the stronger your magnetism. If you've got a negative pole that is very strong next to a positive pole that is very strong, it's going to be hard to separate them. They're going to bond really fast, really fast. And so, that's why you don't need to be afraid of, like Nettie was saying, standing your ground and being decisive, because your soulmate clients, your soulmate leads, the people who are really there to be with you for the long haul, they're going to want to see you stand your ground in that integrity. Integrity attracts integrity. You don't have to be everything to everyone. That is like a brainwashing of most women, that if you just water yourself down, you're going to be safe. But if you water yourself down, you are officially, scientifically, unattractive. And so we want to give you this as a technique of not being everything to everyone all the time, but instead standing in your authenticity, being magnetic, being polar, and bringing the people to you who are yours and repulsing the people away from you who are not. Right, Nettie?
Definitely. I was thinking as you were saying about being watered down, you disappear. You can become so watered down that there's nothing of you even measurable anymore. Don't let that happen. The starting point is sharing your origin story, identifying it, and then starting to share it. If this is speaking to you, if you are curious about your origin story and how that could fit in, or maybe you are feeling a bit watered down, drop the word connect and we will find a time to talk to you. We'll coordinate a time to talk to you, just to hear what's going on in your world and how this particular episode might be connecting with you. Next time when we come together, we're going to be talking about doing it all. So I'm going to mention the label of type A personalities. I was surprised to learn recently that type A was actually a category for people who were likely to have a heart attack. But then it started to really describe the kinds of activities that people who were likely to have a heart attack were engaged in. And one of them is doing it all. So you may be amazing at doing it all. You may have many, many talents, but we're here to say next time that we talk that this could also be a problem. And we're going to talk about how there are other ways to get done what you want to get done without you specifically doing it all. If you'd
Mhm.
like to hear that, join us again next Wednesday at 3:30, and we'll be sharing a little bit more on that topic.
And in the meantime, everyone, find us on LinkedIn, Nettie Owens on LinkedIn, Sente Victoria Whitfield on LinkedIn. We have a poll going. We want to hear from you. Hello. What should be the tagline
The
of this
tag.
podcast? We named the podcast Wake Up Women Leaders because that's what you voted for in our poll a couple months ago. Now we got another poll going. So we have a title, but now we need like, well, what's the subtitle? Like the tagline. And so there are four choices there. We need your vote and we're going to go with what the crowd says they want because we're here, we aim to please you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
And we won't tell you what those final 4 are. You gotta go check it out.
That's right. We'll see you on LinkedIn, everyone. And
All right.
so, with that, sending you all lots of love. We'll see you next week. All right. Bye
Bye-bye.
for now.